Here actually I have designed a text to Mongo conversion tool where user can just type in their simple questions in their plain English form, and it will generate a corresponding Mongo query for us, which we can then run on a MongoDB. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So welcome back to our LangChain crash course. In our previous section of the video, we discussed about RAG, retrieved augmented generation. Then we also talked about agents, and we built one agent from scratch using LangChain. And in today's video, I'm going to explain you about few more basic concepts about prompt templates, output parsers, few short prompting, and example selectors, along with code examples. Okay. So first, let's just jump to the first topic: output parsers. So output parsers we already discussed about, which structured output method that is available with LangChain runnables, right? So you can use that to actually structure the output. So this is kind of outdated document. So when those kind of things were not available in LangChain, and also proper tool calling support was not there, this output parsers was being used. Okay, to generate output in a desired format. So I'd suggest you to use that only with structured output, then use tool calls to define your output formats and all. But as a legacy, let's just discuss like how output parsers used to work. So if you see, we have different type of output parsers. Okay, for example, string output parser, which parses text message from the object. So I mean, the output that is generated will parse the text information from there. You can then extract information in a JSON format using the JSON output parsers here, right? So there are other output parsers also, XML, CSV. So we are not going to waste much of our time in on this. But one important output parser that was there was the retrieve with error. Okay, that means if your output parser somehow fails to generate the output in a desired format, what it will do? It will again pass the current output, the error message that it got, and it will pass it to a LLM layer inherently. It will then fix the output format and generate a proper output for you. So that's how this retry with error output parser used to work. Okay, so you can, if you want, you can try out these things. Okay, one by one. So now let me just move to the next section called prompt templates. So prompt templates are kind of a way to structure the user inputs and the system inputs and the AI outputs also, right? I mean, we had three types of users, right? System, user, and AI, which we saw in our earlier section of the videos. So prompt template is a way to structure the input format. There are few types of prompt templates that are there. One is the string prompt template. I'll show you example of prompt templates in my code here. Okay, here we have used three concepts actually. I'll show you all of them, okay, together once I discuss all these concepts. So you have string prompt templates where you can just create a prompt template like this, okay, and you can have a placeholder for variable. Okay, then you can actually invoke your prompt template with this. So what will happen? This topic variable will be replaced with this text. So it's kind of a placeholder you are using. Okay, next we have chat prompt templates. So this is nothing but just like we had a string prompt template, which uh, had only one string. Okay, in chat prompt template we can have a sequence of messages in a list format. Okay, if you see, it's a list of messages, and the list messages can be a system message, user message, or AI message. Here also you can use placeholder variables or input variable placeholder like this, and similarly you can invoke those and it will give you a chat prompt template. And I mean, in a chat format it will give you the prompt templates. Okay, if you think clearly, right, what we can do, we could have write this as a right system prompt and user prompt, then we could have combined that together. So we could have done all those things. That's not an issue. But as I told, this kind of classes helps us to write clean code, obviously, and a structured code which will look which will be better to understand, easier to understand, and easier to manage and handle also. So next type of prompt template we have is our message placeholder. Okay, here what you can do actually, uh, instead of we deciding the sequence of messages here, okay, what you can do, you can have a placeholder like this using this message placeholder construct, where you can actually pass a list of messages dynamically while invoking the prompt. You can actually create the list dynamically and pass it here. Okay, so it's kind of chat prompt template kinds of become a static implementation, and chat prompt template with message placeholder becomes a dynamic implementation for us, where you want to add the user inputs in between the implementation of the states in a dynamic way. Okay, So that was about prompt templates. Anyways, we are going to see the practical code example, so I'll leave you here with this prompt templates. Now let's just go to the few short prompting. What few short prompting means: when you are creating prompts, usually what happens, when we create prompts, instead of having a hard-coded static prompt every time to generate an answer, what we can do in that prompt, we can actually embed some sample examples which match to the user query. Okay, so this kind of few short prompting is useful when you are doing a kind of text to some other query conversion mostly, right? Let's say you are converting user query to Mongo query, user query to SQL, text to SQL, text to Mongo query conversion. In those kind of conversion, it's quite helpful to have few short prompting. And in few short prompting, what we'll do, we'll basically fetch some sample user input and the corresponding sample output that we are expecting, then pass some of those set, let's say 2 3 such set will pass in the prompt based on the user query, then we'll generate the output for the given user query. So in this video, in a while, I'm going to show you how to convert user language user query to Mongo queries. Okay, so we'll be implementing a text to Mongo agent from scratch. Okay, so there we'll be using few short prompting, and you'll be able to understand that better. Okay, so when generating few short prompting, as you told, few short, that means some sample example. Few short means some samples. Okay, relevant samples examples which you want to pass along with the main prompt or the core prompt. So there are some uh, points to consider when you are doing few short prompting, like how are the examples generated, how are we going to generate the input and output pair, like the desired expected input and the desired output pair. Okay, and how many examples are to be there in the prompt when you are creating a dynamic prompt, how many relevant examples we want to pass, whether we want to pass 1 2 3, this question we have to answer. So these are the 4 questions. If I discuss about this one by one, how our examples are generated. So to generate examples, first what you can do, you can have some sample set of examples like this. If you see here, I've taken some synthetic data. Okay, some samples I've taken some sample examples on my own, where I have some user text and a corresponding Mongo query. Okay, that's the step one, to create some sample examples. Okay, you don't want the data set to be this much only, right? You want it to grow dynamically with some good examples, because this much information is not enough to build a foolproof agent. So in that case, what you can do, you can use user feedback. Let's say user asks some question ki, how many orders were placed in my company this month, and the platform, let's say, generated a corresponding Mongo query for the user. And we can ask the user to give a feedback whether the query is correct or not. If he gives a positive feedback, what we can do, you can then insert this user query and the generated Mongo query into our main database, right? So that's how we generate examples as synthetic data, and we create a good set of example data which can be used for new users also. All right, so these were some of the ways to generate examples. Then the next question is, how many examples are in each prompt? How many examples you want to put? So that depends on your use case. You can have two examples, or minimum one example, so you can go up to 5. The point is, the more number of examples you have in the prompt, the better will be the output. But there will be trade-offs also, because as you include more number of examples in the prompt length will become lengthy, right? It will become huge, which can exceed the context length, maximum context length supported by any LLM model. So you have to then uh, design some appropriate way to fetch relevant and more similar examples to be used in the prompt, and then select two or top 3 matching examples, then you can use those in the prompt. So there are obviously some trade-offs about the number of examples, because larger prompts increase the cost and latency. Obviously, the bigger the context size will be, or the bigger the prompt will be, the higher the cost will be. Okay, for your LLM calls. So uh, so the next question is, how do you select examples? Okay, so there are some ways, like if you have some set of examples like this, you can pick some random 2 3 examples, but that is not the best way to do. Next thing what you can do, you can have some semantic or keyword based similarity of the inputs, right? You can use you can implement phase or some vector database. Okay, and then apply semantic search on top of your this synthetic data set, which will find you the top 3 or top 5 based on the configuration matching queries for the given user query, and you can use those. in your prompt. So this is the most desired and most efficient and workable way to select examples from your data set. Okay. So LangChain has an example selector, okay, which will fetch relevant examples from a given set of sample data set. We are using example selectors here. I am going to show you here definitely. I think that was about few short prompting. So now let's just jump to the next thing about the example selectors. So as I told, example selectors, uh, it will be better to show you in the code. Example selectors is nothing but it's it is able to select top 3 or top 5 relevant examples from the given data set based on the incoming user query. Okay, it will apply semantic similarity search and it will then do so. Then let's discuss about this concept of async programming. So async programming, as the name suggests, it is used to call the methods of our runables in a async manner. Like we have seen, we can do prompt.invoke or LLM model.invoke, we can do those stuffs, right? What we can do, we can make those calls async, that so that the processing of various activities will be done in an asynchronous manner, which will definitely reduce latency in your application and improve your overall performance of the application. Because in many times when designing LLM based applications, you'll often be integrating some IO operations which will be making external API calls, doing database queries, will be reading from files. Those are async operations, and in many situations you won't want to do those in a sequential manner. So in those cases, you can go for this asynchronous APIs. So almost all the runnable interfaces that are available in LangChain, they support async operations. Just like we saw invoke, you can do AI invoke, right? And just like adding, let's say vector, you are adding vector documents in your application. Let's say you have vector store where you are adding relevant examples in the data set. Okay, so you can make that asynchronous event instead of doing add documents. Okay, you can do add documents, a for asynchronous add documents you can do, which will uh, perform the task in an asynchronous manner. So that was about today's concepts about output parser, prompt templates, and few short examples. Now let's just see a example where we'll be discussing about these 3 things. Here actually I have designed a text to SQL text to Mongo conversion tool where user can just type in their simple questions in their plain English form, and it will generate a corresponding Mongo query for us, which we can then run on a MongoDB, okay, and get the corresponding results. So here I'm just imported some keys. Let me just import my keys. Then we are using the OpenAI embeddings, which we already discussed. This will be used to vectorize these documents. Okay. Then we are using OpenAI as the chat models. Then I have imported some other modules also. For example, chat prompt template, which is just so. I've used the chat prompt template module. We are using Phase for vectorization of these sample documents. Okay. Then I'm using the semantic search, semantic similarity example selector. So which will find us the relevant close matching examples for a given user query. Okay. Now let's just import these packages once, and let me just initialize this variable also. And here I have used that OpenAI embeddings, and then I have created a simple plain system prompt. Okay. This is not user prompt or AI prompt. This is a system prompt. Okay. Here we are just feeding in the user query, whatever the user will be passing, we are just using the variable for that. Then this is where we are using all the concepts which we discussed so far. Okay, I have defined a function called load query chain where we are initializing our LLM model and our embeddings. Then I'm using the semantic similarity example selector. Now what this will do, it will first create a it's just like a retriever, which is saw in our previous section about retrievers and vector store, right? So what it will do, it will use that synthetic data which I've already declared above, then use the embeddings, so that using these embeddings, it will convert the synthetic data into vectors, okay, and then store it in a phase. Phase means, which you already saw, it's a in-memory vector store, in-memory vector store that is available for us, and it is given by Facebook. Then we are passing k is 3, okay. So example selector is nothing but it's kind of a creating a vector store plus retriever. It's a combination of both. Vector store plus retriever is kind of an example selector, okay. Then we are passing the user query, okay. So given the user query, it will go to its vector store and find top 3 matching examples for us. Okay? Then we are creating the few short message prompt, right, where the first parameter we are passing is example selector, because it's a few short prompt template, right? That means we have to have some similar examples, right? So that's why we're using this example selector, which will do that task for us. Then we're creating a chat prompt. okay, which is saw in our prompt templates. Here we are creating chat prompt template, right? So this is what we are doing. In our chat prompt template, what we are doing, given the user query, given this output of this example selector, it will create a list of messages like this for user query and Mongo query. Okay, what is the user query and what is the Mongo query? Based on the user query, input user query. Okay, you could obviously write your own custom prompt template like this. Okay, what you could have done, you could have used a plain rag here, okay, to fetch top three, let's say, matching documents from the vector store. Then you could have created your own prompts. That is up to you, absolutely fine. You can do that, not an issue. But this is just a structured way of doing things, and which is given by LangChain. So that we should definitely leverage these components and use it to make our code more cleaner and structured, so that I don't have to write much of things from my end on my own. Okay, this is where we created the future template. Then we have the final prompt, okay, where I'm passing the system prompt first, right? This is the system prompt. That's the first instruction that I'm giving to the LLM. Then we have some future prompt. That means we have some sample examples here. This is where we'll be having our uh, top three examples, matching examples. Why top three? Because k is equal to 3 I've mentioned here. All right. Then we have the given user query. Now I've created a chain here where we have the prompt and LLM. Then we are creating the query chain here. So this was a function which returns the query chain, and this is where I have created the query chain here. So let me just run this, and then we'll invoke the query chain with our first question. So retrieve first 30 users of Australia, let's say. So it correctly generated the query for me. dv.users.find country is equal to Australia, limit is equal to 30. Let's just ask another question. How many orders were placed in December 2024? Yeah, order that count documents, order that and all. Then let's ask the third question. List all products with price above 200 rupees. So dv.products.find price is greater than 200. You might ask one question ki, what if the column names or the property name in my collection is not order date in this case? What if it is that order placed at? The column names can change, right? As well as the collection name, right? So in order to handle this, also what you can do, you can always in the system prompt you can input some schema information like this. You can craft your prompt like anything you want. Okay, order properties of collection are, you can mention order ID, okay, order placed it. So if you feed in this information about the schema of your database structure, then your LLM will be more aware about the exact key names, and it can then utilize those to generate correct things for you, okay, based on the exact collection name and properties name available in your database. Similarly, in your examples also, you can utilize your key names, right, or names of your collection name and properties. So that will help the LLM to generate accurate queries. Okay, so that was about today's video. I hope you understood today's concepts about prompting techniques, how to create prompt templates, then how to do few-shot prompting and leverage example selectors to build a tool like this text to Mongo conversion. So if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. We are targeting to reach 2200 subscribers by the end of this month. So keep supporting. So if you have any doubts about whatever we discussed in this video, put them in the comment section. I'll be sure to answer them. So thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.